Good morning again, everyone. This is Sarah Deitch, and I'm a Customer Success Manager with Skybits. On behalf of myself and the entire Skybits team, we want to welcome all of you to week 4 of Skybits Training Tuesdays. Weeks 1 through 3 are available on the Skybits YouTube channel. Thank you all for attending. We hope that these 1-hour sessions will improve your level of understanding within the Insight tool in order to bolster your confidence in using our best-in-class user interface to its full potential. The intent of these trainings is to provide a live demonstration environment with as few PowerPoint slides as possible. So let me get rid of this one. Just a few housekeeping items before we dive in. Everyone's been muted, other than myself, so we don't have any background noise. If you have muted yourself and want to ask a question later, you must unmute yourself. We're not able to do that for you. We've also factored in time at the end for a Q&A session, generally about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the length of the material. You can also type questions in the chat though, so you don't have to wait till the end. If you think of a question, just pop it in the chat and we'll get to it and hopefully answer your question towards the end of the session. And all sessions are being recorded. As I had mentioned, we do have a YouTube channel and they will be available for playback the day of this session. Today, we're going to get into notifications in the Manage Settings section of Insight. So first of all, let's talk about why. Why would you want to set up notifications? What I've noticed is that not a lot of customers are utilizing the notification section simply because they don't know how to set up the notifications or they don't necessarily know that they're there. Notifications can give you important information when it happens. Insight does offer a vast array of email notifications that will notify users of many different scenarios, including arrival and departure from landmarks or sky fences, idle at custom or generic landmarks, cargo loaded or empty events, border crossing rules set and violated, and state border crossings. When would I use a notification? Or when would I set up notifications? You should set them up right away. So after we have this session, I recommend that maybe you go in and try to set up 1 or 2 notifications. You're able to do that, as I'll show you how today, and then you'll be able to receive those notifications. There are notifications for every company and every industry. You just need to know that they're there and you need to know how to do it. So that's what our intent is for today. Where is the notification section? Well, if you go to the Manage Settings, Notifications, that is where we'll be spending a majority of our time. But what I wanted to discuss first is in our Groups section. So if you would like to have groups associated with multiple emails because you're planning on using these notifications to go to multiple people for a group of assets that is, then you would want to make sure that you set that up initially. So you would go into your groups, add, edit, and delete. And then if you have groups set up, you would see these on your screen. So you can go in and edit the group. And you would add emails here. And you would use a comma to separate them. And anytime you see this question mark, you're able to get information about that field. So you could add up to 10 right here. So then in the future, when we're going to set up notifications that need to go out to a group, that need to go out about a group of assets, then all of the people that you have listed in the group email would then receive that notification. Wanted to touch on that first before we go forward. Now let's go back to Manage Settings and Notifications. So the first thing that you want to do is set up a destination. So let's click on Set Up Destinations. All right. And destination is an email, a mobile number, a place that you want the notifications to go to. So you would put in an email address, and I'll just put in mine. So as in most sections in Insight, you're going to get a notification that tells you if something was done or if there was an issue. So here we have status, add destination request was submitted successfully, and that is definitely what I wanted to see. So then I can go forward and set up my notification rules. Now you have to set up the destinations first, just in order to have a place for these emails to go to. So please make sure you do that first. The reason I'm definitely pushing that is because when you go into the notification section, set up destinations is not the first thing that you see. The first thing that you see is add, edit, delete, and view. Now, you don't have to really utilize those sections, but we haven't removed them because older users who have notifications set up still accustomed to using the add, edit, delete, and view functionality. The only thing you really need to use at this point is in order to set up notifications, edit them, delete them, anything you need to do with an established rule is go to set up notifications rules. We're not going to remove these two. They're here, but we don't really need to review them right now because everything you need to do is here and set up notification rules. Now, if you're a first-time notification adder, if that is even a word, if this is the first time you're adding a notification rule, then you will not see the grid because you haven't added anything. And this is where we don't need that add, edit, or view section anymore, because if you have any in there, they will appear here in this section. You would only see the add new rule button if you're coming in here for the very first time setting up a notification. If you're the admin, you can see all of these. Just so you know, the admin can see rules created by everybody. Notification rule name, created by, start date, when it was created, and action. So if you wanted to delete the notification rule, you would do that right here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add. Okay. Here's where we're going to dive in a little bit more, spend a bulk of our time in this section. Okay. We'll create a new rule. So step one, you want to add the name of this rule. So give it what you're thinking you're going to be calling it, what you want to receive it as, and you'll see it and you'll know exactly what it is. That's how you'll identify it when it comes to you. So I'm going to say landmark. Okay, next. In order to see the next or hide the step, you want to click on this box right here. Now, here's where you're going to specify the assets to be monitored, meaning which of your assets are you going to apply this landmark rule to? Here's where we get into individual asset IDs, all of your assets, or a group. So if you have a group name, this is where that group email would come into play. So whomever's email is associated there is who's also going to be receiving this notification rule. You can also highlight multiple here. If you're only looking at 2 or 3, you can highlight by using the control button on your keyboard and click on the ones that you're wanting to be monitored. Group name or all assets. Here's all your groups. You would scroll down and find your group. Now, if I wanted to hide this, I could. Because the next thing I want to look at is select the condition to be monitored. This is where we'll spend some time talking about what not each one of them means, because I think most of them are pretty self-explanatory. But this is where really, I know you name it in step 1, but if you're going to make up a bunch of different rules here, if you're going to look at a bunch of different notifications that you want to send, I'm arriving at a landmark, I'm departing from a landmark. I want to look at idling at landmarks. I want to look at, cargo empty at landmarks. So when you're looking at the rule name, I kind of want to know which one I'm going to do first, and then I can just edit this if I need to. But what I want to do here is go through a couple of them so you can see, okay, asset departed from any custom landmark. So when I click on that bubble, let's go here, the edit list will come up. So the edit list, once I click on that, is my landmark list. So we talked about landmarks a few weeks ago. Actually, for 2 weeks, we talked about landmarks. That's how important they are. They are showing up here in the destination of a notification. So what I want to do is look up my known landmarks. I know I have some in Virginia. You have to find the landmark. You can use name, you can use type, state, country, and hit find. And then I'll look at this one, and then I want to hit save. So what I did here, filter to find them, pick the one or ones that I wanted, and I can add them, and then I can save it. Okay. What to do when condition occurs. Notify when the condition is detected during these hours. That means, I'll open that up. Do I want to know when this happens every day of the week, any time of the day? You can just open it all up and say that, or you can select, I only want to know when the assets that I had selected in my assets to be monitored depart from this landmark on Sundays between the hours of 3 and 7. Okay, so I specified that schedule. So if you think about it, most of these you'll probably want to know when things happen all the time, but you do have the ability to be flexible with your scheduling, because if you're using all assets and you're monitoring all the time, and if you're using a popular landmark, you may get a lot of emails. But if you're really trying to drill into, I'm really looking at these assets, I need to know when they leave a certain landmark for high value loads. Say, for example, I want to monitor a high value load, and I only really want to do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can certainly drill down and be that specific by using the schedule and utilizing the assets to be monitored. You pick the ones that you know are going to need to be monitored heavily because they're high value for a certain amount of time, and when to expire this rule. So sometimes we're doing a project based, using our assets for a project, or we're, like I said, a high value load is hauling only for the next 2 weeks. And after that, I don't care about this notification. So I would then expire it after 14 days. So again, not only can you select which asset or assets, asset group, the whole fleet, whatever you need, you're picking, departing a landmark, and you're picking which landmark or landmarks that you want to monitor. You specify your schedule. So I want this on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I need to expire this rule because this is a project like I just mentioned. So I just wanted to review that again, step by step. Make sure that everybody hears that. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that these are here for a reason. So you don't have to get these notifications forever, nor do you have to get them 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The conditions can be met in certain time blocks, which allows you to be flexible. Okay. And then we have step 4, specify destination and schedule for notification. This is to whom is the notification going. So I set myself up in the destination section, and I did specify a schedule up here, but I can also say all. If I didn't have a schedule, I could say all, and if I didn't have a schedule, I could say all here. So let's specify all days of the week, all times of day. When do I want to get this notification? Oh, Not sure why that's happening, but I did take off my, apologize folks, you should be able to get that whenever. All right, there we go. And I want them all. I had to uncheck that box because I'm not being specific right here. So I unchecked the box all days of the week, all times of day. I apologize. And I want to receive it any day of the week, any time of day, meaning anytime this happens, this email will come to me. All right, and then I would hit add. Let me make sure I picked some assets up here. I did. Let's pick cargo and I'll hit add. Please select an action in what to do when the condition occurs. I apologize here. Okay. Not sure what I'm doing wrong. I did this a few times before. Oh boy, okay. So what we can do here then, I apologize, there's just something not working right there. Go back to manage settings and go to notifications, and we'll go back to the notification rule. What'll happen is my notification rule name will come in here, created by, I'm this user right now. The start date will be today, and I can delete it if I don't need to use this anymore. Now at this point, this is the current notification rules table. Again, I just wanted to make sure I'm clear here that we can do a few things from this screen. Anything that was created, again, anything created under this username, and since I am the admin, anything created in an account would be here. And I can edit. If I click on the notification rule name and hit edit, I will then get those boxes again, and I'm able to edit any of the boxes. I can rename this. I can change my asset ID that I'm looking at. I can change this here, watch message type, speed violation. I can show and hide this here as well. So I can make changes here and I could submit them. All right, and then go back to manage settings, notifications, set up notification rules. And I can also, I think I've said this a few times, if I need to stop getting this, if I didn't time it out in that section where I'm able to determine how long this would run for, I could time this out now by deleting it, and I can stop it from happening. Okay. All right, so once a notification rule is configured, now we're going to go back in here. I'm going to go back to add a new rule, and we'll just talk about these here a little bit. Conditions to be monitored. We do have a bunch of different conditions to be monitored. So I did show you how to set one up, but what I wanted to kind of do was linger around here a little bit, just so everyone can see that we do have a multitude of notifications that can be received. It's relatively easy to set up. Just make sure your destinations are set up correctly so you're able to choose who's receiving this, any groups that need to be edited based on emails, who's going to get these notifications. But we do have asset approaching destinations, arriving at landmarks, sky fences, which are outside of landmarks. So it's kind of like it's coming into the landmark, it's in a sky fence. Departing from landmarks, custom landmarks. Another big one, asset idle at a landmark. If you want to know how long you're idling at certain yards, anything you've identified as a landmark. Some customers you're idling for too long. You may just want to put on a notification, hey, this asset needs to move around. For whatever reason, the asset idle at custom and generic landmarks is good to utilize because it will let you know when those criteria are met. Border crossings. So we haven't set up any border crossings yet, or we really haven't gotten to that section. And that one, and there's another one, sky fence and route fence. So the route fences we also can talk about, but as far as border crossing rules, we do have those in another section, and we will go over those in another training module. But border crossing rules are the conditions to be monitored. So just so everybody knows, cargo. So if you're utilizing one of our devices with a cargo sensor, we do have a handful +1 of notifications on what you can do with the cargo sensor. You can empty at be notified when they're empty at landmarks, cargo event loaded at landmarks. And this is where you would pick the landmark name again, cargo event loaded. I want to know when the cargo event, meaning it switched from empty to loaded, occurred. Loaded to empty, conversely. We do have door sensors. So when the door closes, the door closed at a specific landmark, door closed event at generic landmarks, which everybody has access to. Door event while loaded. Again, if your asset is loaded and the door opens, why is that happening? I want to know when that happens. Door open at a landmark, same thing. Why are we opening this door? How long is, we want to monitor this. Door open, period. I want to know when the door opens. Again, all assets. That would very likely, if you're using a lot of door sensors and you have a larger fleet, you would get a bunch of emails. But what you really want to do is think about, why would I want to utilize this? To know because I have high value loads, or to talk about theft, that kind of thing. Motion event start, motion event stop. Those are pretty clear cut. State border crossings, sky fence arrivals and departures. And watch message type, let's look at that one. Lockdown, we do have speed violations. We have a yard move, scrolling through a little off. Scheduled events, speeding, anything put in lockdown, watch messages, you can specify. The messages that you're seeing when you're looking at your assets and you see that there's a message that corresponds with that asset ID, that is what watch message type would include. And tamper sensor alert. Specific devices do include tamper sensor alerts that we would have to set up per account. All right. So once a notification rule is configured, this is an important piece. So when you're setting this up, right, the assets selected in the rules start getting monitored for the notification condition. So I set it up now, it's going to start monitoring it now. If an asset belonging to a notification rule is already in the specified condition, I'm really kind of talking about idle, moving, condition, meaning that what state is the asset in? Is it idling? Is it moving? A notification rule would not be generated. So if it's already idling and you're setting up an idle notification, you won't get an idle notification until it leaves that status and comes back to that status. Just to make sure everyone's clear, because I do know the expectation, unless I let you know how it works out, is I just set the idle notification. This thing's been idling for 300 days. Why didn't I get a notification? And that's the reason. If you set it up today and it's been idling for that long, you will not get the notification until it comes out of idle status by moving, and then it goes back into idle status. You'll then be notified. So that's a pretty important point to make sure everybody understands. Okay, so one more thing here in manage settings, notifications. We have email setup. Let's go into that. It's for paging, panic, custom profiles, and reports. Alerts for all assets will be sent to the email specified in the email address here. If you wish to distribute email alerts to multiple destinations, you would use the group email facility, which allows you to send email alerts for assets to different destinations based on their group, which is what I had talked about at the very beginning of the session. So I would check to receive notifications from mobile terminal. Mobile terminal is what we call our device, MT, the device response to a paging request. So you want to page the device, who is it going to come back to? Panic activation. If I've activated the panic on the device, where's that response going to come back to? Custom profile activation or expiration. So when you set up a custom profile, upon activation, you'd be notified, whomever is in that email address. Custom profile expiration. You put an expiration date on your custom profile, you'll be notified about that. Any batteries that are not external power, low battery status, and report completions. So when you run a report that's been completed, that is the email notification. Route fence notification choices. Disable route notification fence. I'm sorry, disable route fence notification, notify repeat route fence violations. So the email that we're stating here will notify route fence violations. Route fences will be discussed in a later session, and I do recommend that people attend those because usage of route fences I think is pretty low, but I'd like to show people how they're set up and utilized. And email address, send email. On events only, on event and event responses. So the event is the response to the paging request, the panic activation, or the response to those items above. And then down here, this is where you would put the email address or addresses with a comma in between. Apply event type change to my future notification setups only, meaning what I'm doing in the future, or to any existing notification setups. I would like to apply this event type change to. So that would be everything that you've already set up. This is going forward. Okay, then I would hit save. And then let's go back one more. Manage settings, notifications, setup, install status, notification rules. Okay, again, if you go to a page that you have not done anything with, you would only see the add new rule button, which again is up here. So it's similarly set up to the notification rules page, but we do have a rule that exists in here. So again, this is the status of anything that has been done within this account. Same principles apply here. You would click on this to edit anything within the rule. You can delete it, who created it, and when did it start. So what we're going to show you here is how to add new, add install status notification rule. So here is, again, the notification rule name would go in the first block here, and specify the assets to be monitored. So I want to monitor all assets installation status, or I want to upload specific mobile terminal serial numbers. That's what MTSN is. And I would choose a file from my desktop if I had one. Condition to be monitored. I want to monitor an install status at a specific landmark. So again, we have an edit list here. Install status being, are my devices being installed? When folks need or desire to see installations occurring because they may be occurring during off times, or you just need to know what's being installed. Is it being installed at landmarks? Or I want to watch all installs. So I can click either radio button here. And again, we have the choices of the notification destinations here like we did before, but we can also on this screen add other emails, and we can separate them with a comma if we need to. But we do have our folks that were already specified in the destination. All right, so that brings us to, let's go back to manage settings home. What we just reviewed today, we're setting up notifications. Notifications are, again, helpful because they're going to let you know when something is happening real time. Arrival, departure from landmarks, cargo empty or loaded, the switch from one status to the other, border crossing, state crossing, idle. I think that's the biggest one alongside of cargo. idling at landmarks. If you want to know when that's happening, you can do that. As we have just demonstrated, you can set up a rule and you can set it up based on a schedule. You can set it up Monday to Friday, 24 hours a day, or you can, again, you can customize it and fine tune it. And then you can also customize it as far as I only want to run this for 2 weeks. I need to see this forever, whichever you need to accomplish. And then if you have any notifications in your account, which some people may have taken over for other folks and they're just new at utilizing the system. Again, if you go manage settings, notifications, and set up notification rules, that is where you're able to see any that have been set up. You can edit, delete them, whatever you need to do. And of course, you can then resume and add some new rules of your own right here and following those directions. Let's go back to this manage settings home. I hope that's helped a couple people. And what we're going to do also is discuss some features that are in Insight that we'd like everybody to take a look at and know that they're there. I'm just going to go to the Analyze, Locate Assets, Asset View screen. There are two things that I wanted to show you here. The first is the Help section. The Help section is always on the screen, and it always starts right here in the lower right corner. You are able to move this guy around if you want. You can pick him up and drag into any of these spots that are going to give you those blue dotted lines. Can't put it in the middle, but you can put it in the middle down at the bottom. When you log out and back in, it will go back to its default spot though. So you can, just so you know, click it and drag it around. This will give you access to assistance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this is why we want to make sure people are aware at all times you have help by utilizing the Help section. So I'll click on Help. You can type in questions here, anything that you'd like to sort by. Training Tuesdays registration, which has been very successful. Thank you to everyone who's attending today. I know it's a day after a holiday. I'm sure everybody's busy. Training Tuesdays registrations here. It is also a pop-up when you log into the system. There are installation and troubleshooting guides here. Current release information. So anything that's current, that's new, and Insight would be here. And then once it's no longer new, something has come and take its place, it will go into a release, will go into the previous release information. The Training Tuesdays videos are available here, and I do have to update last week's, which I will do shortly. We also had some training and Webex videos in the system already. So I'm not sure how many people have actually taken a look at those, but they're fantastic. We've reviewed for content, so we're making sure that anything that everybody's looking at right now is current as possible. So these training videos and webinar videos are here. They're not long and they're very informative. So they'll give you some quick help on topics maybe that you're interested in, or you'll be able to see some information that you didn't know existed in the system. So you can open that up. We have panic mode, battery replacement, all kinds of information. There's a little overview of Insight, which is pretty helpful. It goes through pretty quickly, but you're not going to be sitting there for a long time watching a video. And the webinar videos are also fantastic as well. All right. And the next thing I wanted to show you is Show Me How. So I think Show Me How is fantastic. I also think Locate Assets, Asset View, or Asset List are fantastic as well. This is a newer section of the system. So it's not super new, but I don't think a lot of people are utilizing it as much as we hope would, because it's a fantastic, powerful tool. The filters are right here for your entire fleet. You can look at anything filtered. You don't have to look at all of your assets at once, but you also can look at all of your assets at once. You can filter your installed, uninstalled assets. You can look for groups specifically. You can look for if you lease. I've leased from a certain company and I want to just look at those devices and see how they're performing. Do I need all those? Do I need more? What kind of information would you get from that? So Health issues, assets at landmarks. Another great reason to put in your landmarks is that you can use them as a filter. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you can use here. But if you don't know how to use it, it is pretty intuitive. But if you want to learn how to use it, click on Show Me How. Anywhere there's a new section, Show Me How will appear. I'll click on that, and it's going to tell me. I have 5 steps here. It's going to give me information. Use this feature to define the set of assets you want to use for decision making. Boom, succinct, to the point. Next, sometimes it's going to tell you to do something, and then when you do that, it's going to give you results that you're looking for. So what I would want to do here is pick some filters and hit submit, and then I will see a giant map with all of my assets on it, and then I can look at an asset list. It's going to tell me when ready, click submit. So Show Me How is going to be a powerful tool if you notice it. Some people don't. You log in every day. You didn't notice that it came along. So when you see it, just give it a click and it'll describe the feature or the functionality that you're currently residing in on the user interface at the moment. All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a poll, and what we want to do here is, in order for our team to ensure that we're providing you, the attendees, which some have attended before, thank you so much. Some are new. Thank you also. Thank you everyone, of course. We can't do any of this without you attending, but it's important for us to also get some feedback and understand how you're feeling about the sessions. So in the poll section of your little sidebar, your GoToMeeting sidebar, I'm going to send out a few questions. And it looks like the poll is in progress. And we're collecting some responses, and thank you. So there are only 5 questions. And then once we're done here, we'll give you a few seconds each to respond. And then we're also going to have, of course, our 15 minutes or a little bit more of Q&A. And I thank everybody for participating. It's fantastic to get feedback. It's super helpful to us to make sure that we're providing you with information that's going to help in the future. I think that initially, once we started these sessions, we wanted to make sure that our customers were utilizing some underutilized functionality of the system. Insight is a pretty vast tool, and we do understand that, and we do want to help our customers to see the value in the entire tool, not just the little segments that you may be using every day. We want everybody to kind of branch out and use some more of Insight, because it does help run your business more efficiently, 100%. So, all right. All right, while the poll is still in progress. We're asking about thinking about this training and how it will help you. Seeing some good responses. Thank you very much for that. I think that's the most important question is, will this training help you utilize the system more efficiently, more effectively? That's where as I mentioned, that's where we're trying to go. And we were sending emails after the sessions. I do not believe we'll be doing that anymore. We'll be setting up the poll within this, within the meeting itself, so we can get some important information immediately. So thank you, whomever is completing the poll. I believe we're getting closer to the end. Number 3 is closed. Looks like number 4 is coming up next. I like a true false. I always fill out polls. I always answer emails. Working in customer success kind of pushes me that way because I definitely want to hear feedback from my customers. I would always give feedback to other folks. So thank you for filling out this poll. And I think we're about to go to the last question. And here comes number 5. And then what we'll do after number 5, we'll look through the chat and see if anyone has asked any questions. And then we're going to open up for questions on the material for today. Any specific to your account, we may have to handle separately. If you have general questions about the material, fantastic. I believe we're getting close to being done with the poll. That was quick. That was quick and easy. And the poll is closed. Thank you, folks, for answering the questions. I greatly appreciate it. It'll help not only myself personally, but it certainly helps SkyBits as a whole to make sure that we're providing quality content for you. So as I had mentioned at the beginning of the session, if you muted yourself and you have a question, you have to unmute yourself. Otherwise, I believe you can raise your hand. If you have any chat questions, please be sure to put them in the chat, or if you have already done that, we will answer them as best we can. I have some other experts on the call to help me out. So let's open it up to questions, please. I don't see any questions.
Yeah, we did have one come in over the chat that was answered and distributed to everybody regarding the notification if somebody renames an asset ID or install status. But that was answered online. So everybody should see the question section.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions?
Hey, Sarah, it's Debbie. I wanted to just mention one quick thing. You all may have noticed that when Sarah brought up the add or edit notification functionality, that there was a pretty long list of options for notifications. Note that your account may not show that same exact list. Why, you ask? I'm so glad you asked. Because bottom line, it's going to depend on kind of what's available in your account. So for example, you saw ones having to do with cargo sensor type notifications. Well, if none of your assets have any cargo sensors, then you're not going to see those notifications being available to you. Same idea with things like door sensor, right? If you don't have any door sensors, you're not going to see those notifications available to you. So if there's something that you want to create a notification for, some of the things that are kind of used less frequently, for example, I'm not sure that, for example, border crossing, I'm not sure we have that show up in everyone's account because not a whole lot of people use that. If you're only in the middle, operating in the middle of the US, we probably didn't turn that on in your account, right? Because you're not likely to care. So if there's something that you want a notification for and you don't see it there, then please remember to call customer care to ask, because it might just be that we hadn't turned it on in your account.
Right. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
that's important. If at any time in any of these trainings that you don't see what I'm going over, it may have to do with settings in your login that maybe you need to speak to an admin about, and then they can make some changes on what you're able to view in the account. But thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. Any other questions or?
There are no further questions in the chat, so
All right.
Don't see any other questions from anybody in the audience.
All right. Excellent. I want to thank everyone for attending the session today. These sessions are about you, our partners, and helping you leverage the powerful tools that are provided. If you have any recommendations or ideas for future session content, please let us know, and we will be happy to put that together. But we do still have some more quality content coming your way. Next week, September 15th, same time, same place, we'll discuss device management, including utilization of the dashboard and Insight Now, which is some fantastic, powerful tools to utilize. Thank you all for attending, and we will see you next week.